Hari Om. This is the English translation of our Guruji's Swami Nispruh Spandan's online satsang, which occurred on the 14th of January 2024. Swamiji starts out on the topic of how to get blessings of sadhus and saints. Nowadays, people do not have values as part of their upbringing, where they are taught how to receive the blessings of saints. Swamiji tells us about when Ravana was on his deathbed. Ram told Lakshmana to go to Ravan and seek knowledge from him. So what Lakshmana did is that he went to Ravana, stood over his head and asked Ravana to give him knowledge. Ravana did not utter a single word, so Lakshmana went back to Ram. Lakshmana told Ram how it went down, to which Ram told him that when you are seeking something from someone, you ought to go and stand at his feet and praise him, so that he in return would give you his blessings and knowledge. To get the blessings and goodwill of saints, you will need to belittle yourself and then go into their refuge. The whole life of Ram is an example of how to belittle yourself and then go to the refuge of saints. You need to become nothing, a nobody, to get the blessings of saints. Swamiji says that when we will leave the world, all the sadhana, japa and tapa we are doing in the current form will be left behind. One may ask, if sadhana, japa and tapa are going to be left behind, then why do sadhana at all? We will come back to this question later. To continue on the previous topic, Swamiji says that if you would have read the life of Ram, then you would know that he would present himself as nothing and nobody to the Rishi Munis with folded hands, and this would lead to the Rishi Munis showering their whole knowledge on Ram. Had he said that I am Vishnu's avatar, now bow to me, then he would not have received the blessings of these saints. So Swamiji tells us that it is important for sadhakas to follow their guru's advice. It is important that the sadhaka learns to devote and dissolve himself or herself and get into a sharing and giving mode rather than an accumulating mode. And if you're not able to do this, then you should try to learn why you are not able to. Swamiji goes on to tell that you came to this body, live in it and then leave it. You will leave everything behind. Your house, your studies, your money, everything. He explains that when Sati was reborn as Parvati, Shiva did not go to take her as partner right away, but Parvati was under the guidance of Narada to do lots of tapasya to become worthy of Shiva. But what is the reason of doing sadhana if everything will be left behind? The reason is that currently we are stuck in the material form, or the body that we have, and sadhana is done to understand that you are not the body but the Atma, the soul. Swamiji tells the example of a clay pot. When you inspect the pot, you can say there is akash, sky, within the pot, which you can say is the inner akash, or the inner sky. And then there is the sky which is outside of the pot, and you can say it is the outer akash. But when the pot breaks, all that remains is just akash. There is no difference between the inner and the outer. It is this existence of you which has separated you from the Supreme Being. So it happens for most of us to believe that there is this inner sky and outer sky which exist and are separate. So it is the purpose of sadhana, japa and tapa to make us understand that it is only this material form which acts as the barrier that makes us think that there is an Atma or soul, and then there is the Paramatma or the Supreme Soul. But in reality, once the barrier or the material body is gone, all that remains is the Paramatma. Then Swamiji tries to explain this same concept of everything being the Paramtattva by giving an example how intricately clarified butter or ghee is a part of milk. If you look at milk and inspect the process, which takes the ghee out of the milk, it is mixed by Maya in such a way that the physical form of milk and ghee are very different, and that they cannot be easily separated. Swamiji gives another example. Our physical body is the vehicle, and the soul is the driver. But what has happened is that the driver has started to consider itself as the vehicle, and this has led the driver to believe that the needs of the vehicle are his own needs. That is why when the vehicle is driven through rough roads, the driver is unhappy, and when it's driven through even roads, the driver is happy. That is also why the driver feels hurt when the vehicle is criticized and proud when the vehicle is praised. But what is the approach that the driver should take up is to just simply be an observer and not the vehicle itself. And to develop this clarification of being part of the Supreme is why Kriya and Sadhana are done. Swamiji tells that if a guru is a Shiv Bhakta, he will teach to his devotees that Shiva has created everything. It is like our mother is worshipable for us, but not someone else's mother. We often try to seek knowledge from multiple gurus and scriptures while practicing sadhana, which confuses us even more. Swamiji gives an example of how we are part of the Supreme Being. There are many banks where the river Ganga travels through. If you take a dip in the river on a bank that is in Haridwar or a bank that is in Kashi, which is more important? The place you take the dip from or taking the dip itself? Swamiji compares the different places where you take the dip in the river as different forms of God, and the river itself as God. He goes back to explain the process of how ghee is extracted from milk. First the milk is made into curd, and then the curd into cream, then the cream into butter, and lastly the ghee is extracted from the butter. There is a lot of patience and churning involved in this whole process. Same kind of patience and churning a sadhaka should expect when he is taking on a spiritual journey. Once the butter is ready, it is further put into fire, so it becomes even more purified, so it can be converted into ghee. So the whole reason that sadhana is done is for the sadhaka to understand that he is part of the Supreme. Swamiji asks us to focus on the Guru's advice, to be humble and rather be giving in love than seeking love. Most of the breathing techniques teach us how to breathe out rather than in, because when the body has run out of oxygen, it will naturally breathe in. The current way the world works is that most people think that I should get respect and I should be loved. We need to reverse this way of thinking, to look to give love and to give respect. It is often said that a female is incomplete until she has experienced motherhood. It is when the female showers her love on the child or children that she becomes complete. And she becomes complete by giving her everything to the child. The child doesn't become complete, but the mother has become complete because she has given her everything. So it is rather the giver who becomes complete rather than he who tries to collect and hoard. It is also when a male learns to give and to share, that is when the same feminine quality of completeness is what he also acquires. But we do not follow this. We are still walking the opposite direction. We want to get respect and we want to get love. And when we do not get this, we make wrong decisions. It's the accumulator who is going mad because he is unable to get certain things. But if you develop the habit of giving away or sharing, that is what will lead you to attain nothingness. That is self-realization. That is why japa, kriya and sadhana is needed, to make us understand the only boundary which separates the Atma from the Paramatma is this body. And while being in this material body, to get this realization that I am the Supreme Being or I am part of the Supreme Being, sadhana is taught to sadhakas by their guru. The more stubbornness we have from acceptance of this, the harder the journey will be. But being open-minded and listening to your guru's advice will make your journey easier. And as soon as one attains self-realization, there is no japa, there is no God, because the sadhaka knows he and God are one. Material needs are for the material body, the praise and complaints are made towards the vehicle and not towards the driver. So the driver needs to be in a state of being an observer and not to be identified as the vehicle. Lastly, Swamiji explains further by giving an example of Ram and Ravan. And as we know, Ravan was always trying to get more, accumulate more, and become in control over more. He built Lanka out of gold. He defeated any and everyone he could defeat. He captured the Navagrahas and made them obey his orders so he could have things his way. And if we look at Ram, he was the opposite. He gave away everything. He liberated others, gave away his throne, went into the forest. He is a symbol of sacrifice. He is full of love. He made Vibhishan the future king even before the battle of Lanka was won. When Bharat came to meet Ram and asked him to come back to Ayodhya, and Ram did not go, Bharat said that I will rule in your name, so I will need your sandals. So Ram gave his sandals away as well. Then Ram would walk barefoot in the forest and get thorns stuck in his feet. When Ram finally returned to Ayodhya and Bharat was washing his feet, he saw that the wounds left by the thorns were so deep and painful. He asked Ram that why didn't you remove the thorns? Ram answered to him full of love that how could I leave anything behind who come into my refuge? So I carry all those things with me. So if we do not take his name, then how can we expect to understand what Ram is? To become Ram, we should be willing to give away. We should be willing to sacrifice. Or the other way is the Ravan way, that we can learn new things and earn new things, but all this will lead to is discontent and dissatisfaction, because there will always be something else or something new that you will either not have or not know, and this will always keep us miserable, so the choice is ours. But if you will need to know Ram, you will need to live like Ram and to take his name, only then will you know Ram. Hari Om. This satsang was given to us by our Guruji, Swami Nispruh Spandan. It was translated from Hindi to English, so it is possible that there are some shortcomings in the translation. If you have any questions or something was difficult to understand, please leave them in the comment section below. If you would like to be initiated into Kriya Yoga, you can contact us in our email nispruhyogkriyayog@gmail.com or by WhatsApp with the numbers +358 451 30 4884 in English and Finnish, or through the number +358 406 310499 in English and Hindi. This was the Nispruhyog Kriyayog team. Jai Guru, Hari Om.